The preterite tense has a lot of irregular verbs, especially compared to the imperfect tense. Luckily, a lot of these verbs fall into one of two categories. First of all, there's a song that you can use to remember most of the irregular preterite verbs. It goes like this. Fui, di, vi. Hice, quise, vine yo, puse, pude, supe yo, dije, traje, conduje yo, tuve, estuve, anduve yo, pretérito, irregular. Ya yo sé los verbos. Ole! Here's the first part of that song. Fui, di, vi. Fui refers to the verb ir and ser, which are the same in preterite. The conjugations are like this. Yo fui, tú fuiste, él fue, nosotros fuimos, vosotros fuisteis, y ellos fueron. Dar is like this. Yo di, tú diste, él dio, nosotros dimos, vosotros disteis, ellos dieron. And ver is like this. Vi, viste, vio, vimos, visteis, vieron. Ir and ser are identical in the preterite, and dar and ver are very similar. Next we have hice, quise, vine. Hice is part of the verb hacer, which is conjugated like this. Hice, hiciste, hizo, hicimos, hicisteis, hicieron. Notice that in the el, ella, usted form, the C changes to a Z. The next verb is querer, which is conjugated like this. Quise, quisiste, quiso, quisimos, quisisteis, quisieron. And the last verb on this part of the song is venir, and it's conjugated like this. Vine, viniste, vino, vinimos, vinisteis, vinieron. The next line of the song goes puse, pude, supe, and I think it's the most fun line to say. The first verb is poner, believe it or not, and it's conjugated like this. Puse, pusiste, puso, pusimos, pusisteis, pusieron. The next verb is poder. It's very easy to get the two confused, so be careful. Poder goes like this. Pude, pudiste, pudo, pudimos, pudisteis, pudieron. And finally, saber, which is conjugated like this. Supe, supiste, supo, supimos, supisteis, supieron. Then we've got dije, traje, conduje. Dije comes from the verb decir, which is conjugated like this. Dije, dijiste, dijo, dijimos, dijisteis, dijeron. Traer, the next verb, is conjugated like this. Traje, trajiste, trajo, trajimos, trajisteis, trajeron. And conducir is like this. Conduje, condujiste, condujo, condujimos, condujisteis, condujeron. If you'll notice, all three of these verbs have a very special ellos, ellas form. Excuse me. This form doesn't have an IE. It's just JERON. And the last line of the song is tuve, estuve, anduve. Tuve comes from tener. Tuve, tuviste, tuvo. Tuvimos, tuvisteis, tuvieron. Estuve comes from estar and goes estuve, estuviste, estuvo, estuvimos, estuvisteis, estuvieron. And finally, we have andar. Anduve, anduviste, anduvo, anduvimos, anduvisteis, and anduvieron. There are no accent marks whatsoever on any of the verbs that we've reviewed so far. Just keep that in mind. The next category of verbs that are irregular in the preterite tense are kar, gar, zar verbs. Basically, AR verbs that end in car, gar, or zar. I have 3 examples here. Sacar is a car verb. In the yo form, and in the yo form only, the car changes to a Q-U-E. Here we are. Sake, S-A-Q-U-E. The reasoning behind that is very long and complicated, and I'd love to explain it to you, but it would probably take another video entirely. So we're just going to leave it at, remember that car changes to Q-U-E. Sake, sacaste, saco, sacamos, sacaste, sacaron. The next category is gar, verbs that end in G-A-R, like pagar. These verbs change from a G-A-R to a G-U-E. Pagué, pagaste, pagó, pagamos, pagastes, pagaron. Notice that this change only happens in the yo form. And finally, we have empezar, which is a verb that ends in Z-A-R. Zar verbs change from a Z to a C, but only in the yo form. Empecé, empezaste, empezó, empezamos, empezastes, and empezaron. We've got more irregular verbs. Verbs that have an E to I stem change in the present tense also have irregular preterite forms. Let's look at servir. We've got serví and serviste. That's totally normal. But then when we get to el, ella, usted, it changes to sirvió. Then for nosotros, it goes back to servimos, and vosotros is servistes, and then, bam, ellos, ellas, ustedes is sirvieron. So these verbs have a weird change, where the E that changes to an I in the present also changes to an I in the preterite, but only in the el, ella, usted form, and the ellos, ellas, ustedes form. Pedir is the same way. Pedí, pediste. Pidió, pedimos, pedisteis, pidieron. Just when you thought you were done, here are more irregular verbs. Verbs that change from O to UE in the present have a very similar stem change in the preterite. Dormir goes dormí, dormiste, durmió, dormimos, dormistes, durmieron. You'll notice that in the el, ella, usted and the ellos, ellas, ustedes, the O is a U. You have to be especially careful with this verb because pronunciation is everything. There's a very, very slight difference between durmió and dormió, which is wrong. You have to say durmió. Why don't you say it once, just so you know how to pronounce it? Durmió and durmieron. Morir is the same way. Morí and moriste are totally regular, but then we get down to murió with a U. Then we have morimos, moristes, and murieron. Murieron, kind of like a cow. I promise we're almost done, but we've got one more category of irregular verbs in the preterite tense. These verbs are called I to Y verbs. Leer, the first example, is pretty much regular in every other tense, but it's got a special change in the preterite. First, if you'll notice, there's an accent on every single conjugation except for the ellos, ellas, ustedes form. Basically, anywhere you see an I, you need to slap an accent on it. The other big change is that in the el, ella, usted and the ellos, ellas, ustedes forms, there's a Y instead of an I, hence the name I to Y verbs. Let's check out caerse, which is another I to Y verb. Me caí, te caíste, se cayó. Nos caímos, os caísteis, se cayeron. Ahora vamos a
te escribo.